back, everybody. It is the Working Brother back at you with another talk yet again. Texas is back with us. Welcome back, Texas. How you doing?
Hello, bro. Good to see you again. Good to talk to you again, my friend.
You're looking fresh and clean with the new do, so to say.
Yes, people think I'm Brad Pitt now, but I just tell them I'm George Clooney.
I don't know if I'd want to be associated with either of those two, knowing who
Neither
you
do you.
actually are. um, Tell us, Texas. I spoke recently to that Serbian guy who likes to think.
Mio Drag, our brother.
Yeah, that guy who likes to think he's the sexiest man alive. He was saying that it was Water Day yesterday in the neighborhood where he is, and he reminded me of the water struggles. Can you tell us how the water situation is going, and if that pipeline from Rostov is a real thing, or is it just myth?
It's a very real thing. I was in Rostov a couple of weeks ago, maybe a month ago now, and you could see that they had the trench dug pretty much the whole way between
Hmm.
Rostov, the river, the Don River, as they say, and all the way to Donetsk. There was pipes, along the ditch that have now been put together. They're already filling up the reservoirs in around Rostov to start pumping the water. Man, it's you know on the days when we have water, when you can just turn on the water faucet in the kitchen or in the bathroom or in the bathtub,
Hmm.
and water starts coming out, and it's even hot. Man, it's like a miracle, and I mean it makes you want to sing and dance, and so
Yeah, I believe it.
that's going to be a big thing once that gets back to normal. I mean, it's been so long. It's been, over a year now, and I mean, just carrying up water. Although, of course, if things get heavy in the near future, one of the first things they'll do is bomb that
New
pipe, and
pipeline, yeah.
it'll be even worse than the worst times that it's been so far.
Hmm. Hmm. Speaking of how it's going, we hear everywhere about these upcoming major offensives. Let's cut the chase and get like right to the heavier subjects. Tell me what your take is, because I know that like even when I was there in November, you told me that like one of the fears of the people of Donetsk is that a coming Ukrainian offensive is going to be aimed directly at Donetsk as opposed to anywhere else. And there's three or four fronts that are like talked about these days. So, what is your take on where this coming Ukrainian offensive is going to be?
Well, I wrote a article recently about specifically that subject,
Mm-hmm.
and I mean, I can send you the photos. I mean, I have photos from this Ukrainian site that shows the positions of Russian and Ukrainian forces along the front. I mean, of course, it's somewhat, it's not daily updated, and it's not, of course, completely open and accurate. But there's, I mean, even Prigozhin himself has said there's 80,000 UCROP troops along the around Bakhmut.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing is, if those 80, and they say they have several hundred tanks and armored vehicles, and that's a pretty hefty chunk of soldiers and death machines. But the thing is, if they make a counterattack against Bakhmut, and even if they're successful, so what? What do they get? A chunk of rubble with no water, no food, no electricity, no nothing. It's just they're just taking over a razed to the ground city. If they, were to feign a retreat
Mm-hmm.
and go to a little town, I believe it's called Konstantinovka. That's about 20 miles southwest of Bakhmut, and regroup there and then head south. They're 20 miles from Gorlovka, which is the third biggest city in the DPR. It's a major city. If they bust through the front lines, the DPR Russian front lines into Gorlovka, first of all, they're in the center of a major urban built up area. They have, tens of thousands of civilian human shields, which then helps protect them from Russia's three main military advantages, which is artillery, air power, and missile power.
Yep.
And if they get into the middle of the city, then all the fuel in the gas stations, all the food in the grocery stores, all the liquor in the liquor stores, all the houses.
Yeah.
It's free candy for them, all the little girls, it's like, here's your reward for attacking, it's like, back to Genghis Khan and the Hun days,
Yeah.
And if they can bust through in Gorlovka and the other troops come up from around Zaporozhye and, down to Avdiivka, I mean, there's between 200 and 300,000 Ukrainian military reserves right now. And the fact is that all these guys that have been dying along the front, particularly in Bakhmut so far, have just been all the cannon fodder. I mean, there was a thing on Telegram the other day about a dude that didn't have hands that got his draft notice in Ukraine.
Oh yeah. I've seen that.
And they actually take that guy and they send him to the front, and they tell him, go dig a ditch with no hands, or, shoot, AK with no hands. And the guy's, and he's dead. They say that, the Ukrainian conscripts that have been going to Bakhmut, they have like a 1-day life expectancy, So they're burning, they're using meat to plug the front, and all the really hardcore Nazis, all the NATO mercenaries, all the NATO soldiers, they're sitting further back waiting, for the time when they say go ahead, to go into the cities to have some fun,
Yeah.
So it's a very dangerous situation. I mean, you've been to our house in Petrovsky, bro, and I mean, even to this day, the Ukrainian military positions are still, 5 miles away from our house.
Yeah.
They get into Petrovsky, that's a very serious problem. But from there, it takes 30-minute drive and you're in the center of the city. And if they get in the center of the city, then, what's Russia going to do? I mean, then it's like a Stalingrad, Fallujah, Kuwait type situation. It's battle house to house and street to street, but the UCROPs get there first and they have the advantage. Then they're the defenders. And if the Russian army isn't already here and already ready when the UCROPs make an attack against the cities, then they have to come all the way from Rostov, so they have to go and understand too. I mean, you've also been on those roads, man, and you understand even in a regular situation, once you get to the border, unless you've got some special way to get to the front of the line, you can sit there for a day or 4 days before you get across.
Yeah.
And if the UCROPs attack the cities, or even with a scary threat to attack the cities, those roads are going to all be jam-packed with people fleeing. And it's going to jam-pack it both ways, man. I mean, those roads, they're 2-lane, they're not in very good condition, and they're through the middle of nowhere for the most part.
Yeah.
So Russian reinforcements just won't be able to get here.
And
so it could, and this whole thing, this is the point of this article I wrote, is this whole thing could go from everything being okay and we're, they got theirs and we got ours, it could go, way, way off the hook, in 48 hours.
Um,
Because the U-crops have to move, 15 kilometers. If Russian reinforcements are still in Russia,
yeah.
they got to come more than 100 just from the border to the main cities.
Mm-hmm.
And it's going to be through jam-packed, low quality roads. And it ain't going to be funny at all, I mean, especially when you start seeing these, the terrorist drones, the chemical weapons that they have now.
Yep.
I mean, this one dude that just made the video of his drones flying over central Donetsk, flying over Donbass Arena, flying over the Krita and the,
Mm-hmm.
Pushkina and Artyomov Boulevard, the center, the main centers. They just
We're
Ukraine's
gonna
just
we're
bought
gonna play
1,000
that.
drones.
We're gonna play that. We're gonna play that. I was gonna get into that separately, but like staying a little bit more on the Donetsk side of the story. Having spoken to Miodrag the other day, he told me that he noticed a lot less incoming artillery. Number one, and he told me that he saw a lot more Russian regulars, one would say, or Serbian volunteers as part of the Russian army. Who are on leave in Donetsk on like a more everyday basis. Would you say your experience is the same?
Yeah, dude, especially in Petrovsky district. I mean, half the people that you see there now are in camouflage. And
Yeah.
there's a lot of Russian soldiers. I hope that it's a lot more than what we can just see.
Mm-hmm.
But, I can tell you this for sure, dude, that April and May of 2023 are going to be historic. I mean, they're going to be like, September 1939 or May 1945. These next coming up couple of months are going to change the world because either the Russians have set a trap, and when the Ukrops try and make their offensive again, the Russians are going to crush them,
Mm-hmm.
which could well happen. I mean, it could well happen, and I
Mm-hmm.
hope it does because if it doesn't, if the Russians aren't ready, the Ukrops will make it into the cities, and if they do that, they're going to lose Donbass, they're going to lose Crimea, and they're going to lose the war,
Yeah.
and they're going to look like chumps and punks to the whole world,
Mm-hmm.
and they'll be dissected like a frog in a high school biology class.
Yep. Yep. Um, answer me about the artillery. Is that also the case? The fact that it's more outgoing than incoming?
It is the case that it's more outgoing than incoming. It is the case that the center of the city has not been getting bombed as heavily as it was, even a few weeks ago,
Mm-hmm.
much less than a few months ago. But and that's always good because innocent civilians aren't being murdered. But on the other hand, it could very likely be the calm before the storm.
Do you think it's
They're
a
saving
result?
their ammo up for the one morning,
Yeah.
when all their cannons start going off all at once.
Do you think it has anything to do with the Russian assault on Avdiivka?
Not really, dude, because I think that what's going to happen is if they retreat from Bakhmut, there's 80,000 reserves there. That's the
Mm-hmm.
number that Prigozhin put out.
Yeah. Yeah.
If they retreat and 40,000 of them go to Gorlovka and 40,000 of them head down towards Avdiivka, they can cut off that northern pincher
Mm-hmm.
around Avdiivka, bust through the line into Iznovata, and then start coming around behind, dude. I mean, it's basically, my big concern is that they're going to try again to do exactly their plan from, a year ago, from right before the special military, that the plan that they had to come into the cities that the special military operation prevented from happening last year. Which, the concern is that it's only postponed it. Their plan last year to bust into the cities, they were planning on doing it with 150,000 men. They now have 200 or 300,000 men, the UCROPs. And so, if Russia's not ready, it's all over but the fucking screaming and the crying.
All right. Before we get into the drone stuff, I know there's some people who are watching who are probably losing their minds right now. Can you, by any chance, move the camera a bit or your laptop so that you're like a little more centered in the screen, just like so your your shoulders. There you go. Excellent. So when I put you full screen, you're not like off center, but like. More.
Well, the rule of thirds, right?
Yeah. The rule of thirds works in cinema. We're on like online, like if it
Life
was
itself is a movie, my friends.
Yeah, I know. It's a comedy. It's a tragic comedy.
Comedy.
Like this YouTube channel. Like, share, subscribe. Oh yeah, I forgot.
Yes.
Like, share, subscribe. There's the little prompt. And don't forget, I now have a Patreon. You can also check that out if you're interested in supporting the working brother. Moving on to the more serious stuff. You sent me along a video. Let me see if I can get it playing in the background. There we go. Drone guy. And this is from a Ukrainian guy who was supposedly killed, if I'm not mistaken.
No, he's not killed.
Yeah, but he was allegedly killed. And it turns out he's alive.
No, he's not killed, dude. He's not killed.
Oh, okay. In any case.
And this dude's a real bastard. He made a video before this one where it showed like over 100 chemical weapons, poison gas canisters. And this guy is like one of the head drone guys in the Ukrainian, NATO Nazi forces. And he is not killed. I mean, this is one of their most important dudes, and they're taking good care of him. He's not on the front. He's not, he's, and you can see from this right here, he's flying his drones, right over the center of Donetsk. There's Donbass Arena, the Hotel Victoria behind it.
If I can just interject, is that where like it wouldn't let me fly a drone? Like,
of course, exactly right, dude, exactly right.
So like basically, civilian drones can't be flown over stadiums, but Ukrainian drones with chemical weapons, etc., can be. That's what the bottom line is here. That's what
there's
I'm getting.
Donbass City. That's like a big fancy shopping center for rich people. That looks like Artoma. That's Donbass Arena again.
Yeah.
Like you said, where you tried to fly your drone and it wouldn't let you. And this, there right there is the monument to the liberators of Donetsk.
Yeah,
of Donbass.
and that perspective means like when I was flying from this side, and here's the heroes monuments, right. And that got hit since we were there. Let's put it that way, or since I was there. The point is, when I was flying this way, it was geofenced here, which meant that I couldn't even approach from this side. And when I tried to take off this side, it wouldn't let me take off. And this guy is actually above the actual stadium, so he's beyond the geofencing.
Well, that geofencing, it's pretty much only applies to DJI drones,
Yeah, obviously.
They've always been ever since, I think I got my first one in like 2016 or something. And it wouldn't let you fly over Donbass Arena. It wouldn't let you fly over the airport.
Yeah.
It wouldn't let you fly over the park, Sherbakova Park, because there's a soccer stadium, old soccer stadium near there. I mean, but these are, either, very, high upgraded drones, or they're homemade drones. And I mean, they don't have the geofencing. None of that stuff applies. These are very serious, deadly weapons, man. I mean, these are the kind of drones. They're like octocopters. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Octocopters are huge.
They can carry up to 6 82 millimeter mortar shells, or probably 10 poison gas canisters.
Yeah.
If they, and these aren't necessarily the ones that they got from Taiwan. They could be, but I mean, they're not necessarily. But these ones from Taiwan are also weaponized. They can, drop bombs, either explosive or chemical weapons. And they also have the function of working together as a swarm. They've got over 1,000 of them.
Yeah. I think it's 20,000. I think the number cited was 20,000 drones from Taiwan.
Not from Taiwan.
From Taiwan.
1,000.
No. I'm pretty sure.
Listen, okay. Well, you're wrong. It's not 20,000, dude. I guarantee you.
Okay.
I'll bet you money, dude. I'll bet you a drone.
I don't know, man. I don't know. I'm saying I saw that number somewhere. I didn't say it was a credible number. You know what I mean?
It has nothing to do with the drones from Taiwan, bro. That's 1,000.
1,000 from Taiwan, huh? I don't know. Maybe it was this kind, because there's also this kind of drone that's being used, heavily in this conflict, and it's the first time that these kind of drones are used. And you sent me this along as well. And these are the kind of drones that in the civilian world would be used for first-person view or FPV racing. And they've been since adapted to basically do suicide missions and to drop bombs and to do all kinds of other nasty things. And it's all civilian tech, as you can see here. For those that know, this is most probably a TBS connection. And it's interesting to note that there hasn't been much development in the sense of countering this kind of thing. What's your take on the drone wars in this miniature aspect, in the suicide drones that have become more and more prevailing, and the fact that these kind of drones are also used, as you pointed out, to drop chemical weapons?
Well, I mean, of course, the first thing to note is that, this is the first, major, drone war. It's the first time. I mean, they've used them in Syria too, but more just
reconnaissance.
As reconnaissance when they're, moving armor and moving infantry. But now this is, the first war in history where, they are being used as actual weapons. And, I mean, Alexander Khodorkovsky, who was recently promoted to the rank of general by Vladimir Putin himself, he has stated that 70% of the casualties on our side are from artillery. And the reason that artillery is so dangerous is because it's being corrected by, on the scene drones in real time. The artillery shoots around, the drone finds a group of guys walking in the forest and calls in a strike on them, a fire mission. And, the first shot misses them by 50 yards. And the drone pilot calls back and he says, the second shot, 50 yards to the left, and it comes right on top of their heads, And this is the really horrifying thing here, the swarm of drones.
Yeah, I was just going to say, this is a video of actually Chinese drones, and but it's the same concept, and it's a swarm of drones that are all controlled and told what to do. This is footage of Russians destroying some fuel depot with the same kind of drone that you say is, civilian, but then it's jerry-rigged basically to become a military drone. Yeah, so they've become so prolific basically in this conflict. It's definitely changing how things are going.
Well, I mean, and so the Russians need to step up and really, I mean, before the special military operation, everybody was like, I don't know if you ever heard the story about the Donald Cook, which was
No.
a U.S. Navy ship that was in the Black Sea, and
Oh.
supposedly, SU 27 or whatever
Hmm.
flew over with no bombs, but supposedly the story went that it flew over with a um, Kabini electronic warfare module underneath of it,
Hmm.
and basically they say it turned off all the defensive weaponry, all the computers on the whole ship, and then
Yeah.
it supposedly flew over back and forth, making mock attack runs, and then it flew away, and supposedly Donald Cook uh, limped into port in Romania,
Hmm.
and supposedly half of the Navy personnel that were on the boat immediately resigned, and the other ones needed like psychological counseling because they were so terrified about it, which was a good story. But the question is, was it really true? Because if they can turn off a whole ship, they ought to be able to put something up in the air that can, turn off a swarm of drones, and make them drop out of the sky, some kind of, I mean, like an EMP or a spark gap generator type
Hmm.
deal where it just overwhelms anything electronic in front of it that it's aimed at. And they really need to be working on that because, I mean, just, of the 1,000 Taiwanese drones, if they use 100 of them in a swarm, dropping chemical weapons on, Pushkin Boulevard and you know, the Krita or, whatever, the Donetsk University, and a bunch of people start going into convulsions and choking and dying in the streets, I mean, that's going to cause absolute terror and panic. I mean, it's not a military secret. I'm not saying anything that everybody here and the Ukrops and the Russians
Hmm.
don't know when I say nobody's got gas masks here. Not the soldiers, not the civilians. Poison gas is something that, we literally have no defense against.
Yeah. Yeah.
And trusting the Ukrops not to use it just because it's illegal, I mean, and the thing is, and this is the really, the OPCW, the scumbags that are supposed to enforce the law internationally, part of
For
the
chemical
UN.
warfare. Yeah.
Yeah, the Organization to Prevent Chemical Weapons,
Hmm.
OPCW. The Ukrops have already shown that they're making these chemical weapons. They've already made a video where they dropped it on a couple of Russian troops who were hiding in a river
Multiple
or a
videos.
little stream, who went into convulsions and died from the chemical weapons that they dropped. There's another video that's from our guys. A guy, I think it was in like Bakhmut or Solidar. He's shooting out of a window. The
Yeah.
drone drops something and he starts choking and they pull him back. And I don't know if he made it or not, but he was seriously messed up. I mean, the kind of chemical weapons they're talking about using, it's a cyanide chlorine combination that has an 80 to 90% fatality rate. If you breathe it, 90% chance you ain't gonna make it.
Considering.
So
Go on.
go ahead.
No, no, go on, go on.
Well, I mean, just so that kind of thing. I mean, if everybody here doesn't have their own gas mask, then somebody needs to make sure that those things don't get here. And the thing is,
Even.
Russia has already taken to the UN, already taken to the OPCW. Here's the proof. Here's the videos the Ukrops published
Hmm.
themselves of them killing people with poison gas. What are you going to do about it?
I don't
and
know.
crickets. They don't say nothing, And when they don't react to it, to irrefutable proof, then that's just them giving the green light,
Basically, yeah,
saying we
yeah,
don't care, go ahead. It's
yeah.
like spraying Raid on a roach.
I don't know. I don't know, man. When I got into this whole fucking thing, I never expected to be talking about chemical weapons being used. And as far as gas masks, I think even if you guys all had gas masks, considering they're being dropped from drones and they're localized ammunitions, by the time you get your gas mask on, it's gonna be too late, man. Unless you're walking around with a gas mask, like
Unless you're wearing it, yeah, when you're on the bus and stuff. No, I
yeah.
mean, you've seen that video of the guy that was shooting out the window. I
Hmm.
mean,
Hmm.
you're exactly right there. I mean, the gas mask wouldn't have helped him because
Gas
he
masks
was
are
he was
like for
already
clouds
smoking.
of chemical gas. Like if you got a cloud of chemical gas from an artillery barrage that's coming towards a city and the wind is coming from the west, then you can tell everyone to put gas masks on and some may survive. But like if he's dropping chemical weapons from a drone at random, unexpectedly at you, gas mask or not, your chances are minimal,
Yeah, I
realistically
mean, and
speaking.
also you understand that. I mean, they've been in the recent weeks dropping like AGS, grenade bombs
Hmm.
from explosives from Bogs 2 on civilians, on human aid vehicles and stuff
Yeah,
like that.
yeah.
I mean, so they have zero compunction about murdering civilians with these drones, whether it's from poison gas or from explosives. I mean, and they're targeting
Considering
them. And it's like, as you can see from that thing, with the Donbass arena and stuff, they know exactly what they're shooting at. So all these civilians that have been killed have been specifically targeted.
Considering we're getting into the like really heavy subjects, as maybe expected with someone of your grandeur, um, and general
I'm a
disdain.
legend in my own mind.
No, no, you're a legend all over. Um, Someone with a disdain for niceties. Let's put it that way. Someone who likes to say how it is. What do you think of the West's use or planned use of depleted uranium shells in the Donetsk and Donbass and let's say in this special military operation zone, um, and knowing what DU does on like a longer time scale?
Well, I mean, I know it from what I've read, which is horrific beyond imagination. It looks like our picture's frozen up, but I'll keep talking just
No,
in
no,
case.
you're there, you're there,
Okay.
you're there,
All
you're
right.
there.
I mean, you're the guy that should be speaking about this because I mean, you're being from Serbia, you have seen the effects, I mean,
Yeah,
I have read the effects. I've seen photographs of the birth defects that are, I mean, it's like something from a science fiction horror movie to see these little babies that are born, that they're scary to look at,
it's akin
and
to Agent Orange, basically. If anyone
dude,
is
it's way
familiar.
worse, because
Hmm.
it lasts for, I think I read the half life is 4.5 billion years or some shit, so
Yeah, yeah, it's
I mean,
forever.
and the thing is, even the Ukrainians,
Hmm.
the Ukrainian people ought to be burning down Kiev once they hear that somebody, that Zelensky or the army or whatever is bringing those things in, because it poisons the land forever. The
Not,
land, the water, the
not only
people.
that, but the people who are using it also get exposure. That's what Gulf syndrome was basically.
Yeah, of course, of course. I mean, it's 1,000% higher leukemia rates. Cancer, birth defects, the whole nine yards. You know, it's it is a crime against humanity. It's a crime against nature. And
Hmm.
if Russia, had any brains or any balls, they'd say, "Look, dude, if you fire one round and we find out about it, you know, we're gonna fucking shoot something at Berlin. We're gonna shoot something at London."
Yeah, I think that's basically what Lukashenko said.
Well,
In his
talk is
veiled
cheap, I
message.
mean, and what they need to do is actually do it, because the thing is, if it poisons Ukraine, it's going to poison Russia.
Yeah.
It poisons the land. It poisons, you know, the water. It poisons the air. It's one of the most, evil weapons ever invented by man so far. It is a nuclear bomb, and Putin has said, that if it's used here, that he will respond symmetrically.
Mhm.
But he said a lot of stuff that he still needs to back up. And I
Speak,
respect him.
speaking
There's nobody
of
that could be better
speaking of
to lead
talk,
Russia. There's few people
yeah.
if anybody in the world that's a greater statesman than him or a
Hmm.
greater national leader. But at the same time, they're, Russia's not winning this war right now. They're not winning. In Bakhmut and all that, it's just it's a big distraction. To be honest. And if they don't win, and if they don't start winning in the next couple of months, the choice is victory or death.
I think.
And if they let, you know, I mean, if they let NATO, bulldog them and start pushing them around and doing
Hmm.
things, crossing those red lines. I mean, there's been a lot of talk about, targeting decision-making centers, and they aren't even targeting. I saw a picture today of the intelligence directorate of the Ministry of Defense of Ukraine. It's a big building. It's on an island in
Hmm.
Kiev in the Dnieper River, and it hasn't even been hit yet. And there's
Um,
nothing but Nazis there. It's
I wanted to get your opinion because now it's been maybe 3-4 weeks have passed since the alleged double Kinjal strike at a underground 80-meter underground decision-making center of
mm-hmm.
NATO inside the Lviv area, I think. Um, there's been no video, no death toll, no nothing except for some Greek newspaper apparently that did a report on it. But what's your take? Or
Well,
the
I do believe that they did make that strike, and I believe it was effective.
Mhm.
There was a recent announcement in the U.S. About they said it was a collision of two Black Hawk helicopters. They announced the death of 9 American officers, and some people were saying that was the way they were
Code.
covering up the guys that got killed in Lvov or whatever.
Mhm.
And so I do believe that strike was made and that it was effective, which is pretty impressive when you're talking about 80 meters down.
Mhm.
But at the same time, you know, once it's, and whoop-de-doo, if they're doing it every day, the Russians, they have to understand that it is exactly as dangerous as the German invasion of 1941. If they lose, Russia will be destroyed and Russians will be genocided just the way the German Nazis did.
I've
And
on that topic when I was there um, in November of last year. Everybody that I spoke to who was in the know, let's put it that way, who was like, on the actively seeking knowledge and information about what is happening in the Donbass and had known about it from before the SMO. Their attitude was, we're going to win. Russia has to win. It's just a matter of time and getting on the horse or putting the slippers on or whatever before you go out the door. Do you think that's become a more pronounced opinion? And has Russia started to get the ball rolling?
No, no. And I'll tell you something, man. You talk about people like Ritter or McGregor or Martinov, and I have nothing but contempt for these clowns, dude. They have zero clue about what's really going on here. They tell people what people want to hear, and there's an evil reason behind it, because if American, whatever decent, honest human being Americans are left in the United States, if they understand that Russia can lose this war, which they can, and that what Russia really needs is all the people in the West, all the good people in the West. I mean, dude, have you seen these riots in France lately?
Yeah.
Dude, that's pretty impressive, dude. I got to hand it to the French. They're pretty close to a revolution right now. And that's exactly what needs to be happening in every country in EU, and most importantly, and most of all, in the United States. And what do we get there? We got this,
hold on.
this clown show.
I got to stop you. I got to stop you because of YouTube.
These dipshits, they said, oh, it's the national protest in Washington, D.C. They have Jimmy Dory and this chick from Code Pink, Medea Benjamin, and a couple other clowns. And 300 people showed up, and half of them were undercover cops, and half of them were fucking,
Operation Mockingbird.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, so, it was.
Just to be clear, hold on. You were on roll.
It would have been better if they didn't have that pathetic clown show. If
that was maybe because that might have been the intention, like to have it, show that it's a failure.
Exactly, and that's what I'm saying. And all these idiots that say, "Oh, well, Ritter, he's pro-Russian and stuff." No, he's not. He's telling people basically everything's going to be okay. Russia's going to come in and save you from the boogeyman. Go back and watch TV, have another beer, go to sleep. And people in the United States need to understand that Russia needs their help to save them from the Nazis of the 21st century. So just because somebody says Russia is winning doesn't mean that they know shit about it, and it doesn't mean that they're doing the right thing or that they're on the right side when they say it,
Considering you brought the subject way over to the U.S., what's your take on the Trump thing that's going on?
I mean, it's ridiculous. It is, it is the final humiliation of America. I mean, the thing is, there's 100 crimes 1,000 times more serious. I mean, he's getting busted because he paid off a hooker to keep her mouth shut.
Like, share, and subscribe.
And so, yes, the best comedy channel on the internet.
Worst.
But the real true comedy is that, that Trump's getting busted for that, I mean, dude, he was friends with Jeffrey Epstein for 30 years, if you want to get him on some kind of perverted sex crime, he's the guy that let Jeffrey Epstein go, and I've said, since, whenever it was, the idiots think that Jeffrey Epstein committed suicide. The half idiots think that he was murdered, but they're both idiots. They're two sides of two idiot coins arguing, and both of them are a lie, dude. Epstein didn't die. He was allowed to escape by Trump and by Clinton. I mean, and I wrote a couple of articles about it. And I mean, only an idiot can think that he's dead, Do
you think he's like living Trump, on some island, basically?
Of course he is, dude. Just like Kenneth Lay, he fakes death. They didn't even take a DNA off the body, dude.
Oh, I didn't know that. I don't know much about it. Like, all I know is he didn't kill himself.
All you have to do is ask yourself this. Would it be easier? And you remember the story that both of the guards that were supposed to be specifically watching his cell, they both accidentally fell asleep at the same time. Both of the cameras that were supposed to be watching his cell
Turned off. Yeah,
malfunctioned
yeah, yeah,
somehow,
yeah, yeah.
and he was able to hang himself.
Exactly then.
In a cell that is specifically and scientifically designed
To
to
be
be
suicide
suicide proof.
proof. Yeah, yeah.
And then and then you say, oh, did he kill himself or was he murdered? Think about the logistics. I mean, first of all, Epstein was a pretty big dude. You'd have to put at least 2 guys in there to strangle him.
Mm.
And you have to sneak him all the way, and it's a maximum security prison, dude. It's MCC New York. It is maximum security. So there's, probably 10 different security checkpoints, with cameras, with locked doors, armed guards between the street and Epstein's cell. And you're going to sneak 2 dudes, 2 assassins all the way in. They're going to strangle him to death.
Make it look like a suicide.
Without anybody hearing anything. And then they're going to sneak all the way out.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And it's, it's harder to sneak into a prison than it is to break out. And so anyone that thinks Epstein's dead is an idiot. And the answer to that is Trump plus Clinton both got together and said, okay, we have to let this guy go.
Yeah.
Because he's going to show these tapes of us with the little kids. And, and of course, Epstein was a billionaire. He had,
personally,
he had blackmail material on, the major people of the world,
Personally, looking into the whole thing from the outside of being a non-U.S. citizen and America being the land of the free and the home of the brave and the whole checks and balances of government and blah, blah, blah. When the Epstein thing became a real thing, I was just like, dude, okay, whatever. And then they got his missus. What's her name?
Ghislaine.
There you go, Maxwell. The point is, when they had her tried, they had the client list. It was part of the active conversation, and then she disappeared to prison or the same island that he's on, and the client list just everybody forgot about it. You know what I mean?
Sure.
That for me was the telltale sign that there's something going on with the judicial system in the U.S. that is not halal, as one would say.
Well, it is not halal by any means, bro. And I'll tell you something. The point that I made in these articles, which are on my now frozen but still up old website, RussellTexasBentley.com, from 2019, dude. These people weren't just screwing these little kids.
Well, yeah, obviously, yeah.
It's like the quote from 1984. When O'Brien has Winston in room 101, and he asks him, he says, how does one man exert power over another? And Winston, who's strapped to the chair in the torture chamber, he knows exactly how, and he says it. He says, by making them suffer. And it wasn't just, I'm gonna, screw this, tight little 12-year-old. It's, and then I'm gonna cut off her head and eat her brain.
We're getting into David Icke territory, basically. Next thing you're gonna be telling me about reptilians and bloodlines of the Illuminati and shape-shifting demons and.
No, I'm not quite there yet, bro. But I can tell you, dude. I can tell you something, dude. If you'd like, you can go read those articles. When I was 13 years old,
you'll definitely send them along.
I met a couple of mass murderers, dude. I got picked up by 2 dudes named Elmer Wayne Henley and David Brooks, and you can look them up, dude. And they were bird dogs for the biggest mass murderer in U.S. history at the time, named Dean Coral.
Bird dog as in out getting victims? Is that what bird dog means?
Okay. Exactly. And, these dudes, they're like, hey, man, I was 13 years old, bro. And they're like, hey, man, you want to go to a party? And usually, back then I was, dumb young punk. I would have thought to go to it, and I would have thought it would have been cool and fun. But I just got the wrong vibe from these guys. And I'm like, no, dude, I can't, and they're like, no. And I was sitting in the front seat of a Chevy Nova, like a bench seat between them.
Yeah.
And they're like, no, come on, and they started getting insistent, dude. And I was real lucky because I had like a big pocket knife, dude, a lock blade hunting knife. And I pulled it out and I fucking stuck it in the guy's ribs. And I said, no, you're going to let me out at this fucking corner or I'll cut you. And they did. And that was in the summer of 73, dude. You can look it up.
You'll definitely send those articles along when we're done with this chat, and I'll post them along in the description of the video.
Right. But I can tell you, dude. And then like a month later, I'm sitting there reading, the newspaper over breakfast, and this case comes out. The guy murdered 28 little boys over like 3 or 4 years. Tortured them to death.
Yeah. As like we've all seen the horror movies.
Some of them were buried, with their dick and their balls in a plastic bag next to them. So,
I think this is going to be the first R-rated Working Brother Talks.
Well, it's the truth, bro. And anybody
I believe you, man.
Read those articles, I
believe you, man.
Link, dude. I'm not telling you about history. I'm telling you about I met these dudes, and I was, I was 4 inches of steel away from having been one of those kids, and so I understand. I mean, I can tell you too. In South Padre Island in the late 1980s, dude, I met this guy Constanzo and his little weed smuggling crew down there. They used to come to the Hilton Bar in South Padre Island. And they're always saying, hey, come over and hang out with us and stuff. And I didn't like them. I just, kind of shined them on. And then, a couple of months later, they get busted for being cannibals, dude. They had kidnapped some dude from spring break, and they took him out to their little Santa Elena ranch. So
Texas sounds like a fun place, man. But like, I'm really happy I wasn't there then. That's all I can say.
But okay. And what I'm saying is that, and it doesn't just happen in Texas or in Mexico. It happens all over. It's been happening for a long time. So when I say, they don't just diddle these little kids and then let them go. I know what I'm talking about because I've met some of these kind of people before, personally, face to face, in the wilds, bro.
Yeah.
And it's a miracle that I lived, but I did. And so, you understand that it's not just about, here's Bill Clinton with a couple of, young teenage girls. It's here's Bill Clinton, with a saw,
This is now going to like what's that? Bohemian Grove and Alex Jones.
Alex Jones has been right more than he's been wrong, bro.
I know. That's the scary part. And so has David Icke, for the record. But yeah, let's get a little back more to the east.
Okay, and kind of wrap it up here in the next few minutes too, I guess.
Yeah. It's our final topic, which is St. Petersburg and the recent explosion in a cafe. How would you react to the killing of Maxim Fomin? What is your takeaway or like one word reaction?
Well, of course it was a terrorist attack. Of course it was done by the SBU on the orders of the CIA. I can tell you that, me and Maxim Fomin were the most, I'll say this. Max Fomin was the dude that I had the most in common with of any journalist that's ever been to Donbass, bro, because he's a veteran of Vostok, just like me. He did human aid. He did information warfare. He and I are the only war correspondents whoever made reports from the front line with the AK straps to our back.
Yeah.
And I mean, as you can see right behind, you know, and he was a great dude. He was, I mean, he and I had a lot in common. I was nowhere near his league. He had like 500,000 followers on his Telegram channel,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, but as far as, from the heart and from the soul and, and the willingness to sacrifice and the dedication, he and I certainly were two guys very much alike. And you know what? I'll tell you something else. I've been to St. Petersburg to do exactly that same kind of, presentation and meeting where I went to a club with it was sponsored by the veterans of the Novorussian War, German Nikolaevich, who's also a great human aid guy that's been working for years from St. Pete. And he invited me up there to give a presentation. And it was exactly the same kind of deal. At first, I thought it was the same place. It wasn't. But, German had a club, people came. It was announced over the internet. There was posters around.
Mm-hmm.
People came. And for several hours, I sat up on a stage just like Max Fomin did. And people asked me questions. And, we showed some videos and like that, dude. I mean, so, I feel very, very much an affinity with him, there, but for the grace of God go I. And it was a huge loss to the cause of the Russian world. He was a great, great man. And it, it was a terrorist attack, a cowardly murder, again with a bomb. And, hopefully, we'll get some payback for it. Putin has given him the Order of Courage, which is a very high honor medal.
Mm-hmm.
Prigozhin has posthumously enrolled him as an honorary member of Wagner with all the social benefits and death benefits. He was a guy that I admired very much. And we knew each other. We never worked together, but we knew each other and we knew each other's work, and it was a great tragedy to lose him. And it makes me, as a war correspondent here, I feel pretty safe in Donetsk because, I can look out my window and see my car and make sure nobody's putting, something underneath of it or something. I can carry a pistol. When I walk out on the street, I have an AK-74, in case somebody wants to come mess with me at home, and which, of course, those weapons, they don't prevent me from getting killed, but they hopefully prevent me from getting captured, and taken somewhere and, given the Bill Clinton treatments or whatever, the Epstein affair type deal, so, it was a terrible blow, just the same thing, Daria Dugina, I know some of the people that used to work with her, and it's terrorism. It's always done by the cowardly bombing. It's.
Do you think it shows weakness and desperation, or do you think it's flaunting?
No, I don't. I think exactly
do you think it's
the
flaunting?
Opposite. It shows contempt for the Russian security services. It's a spit in the face of all the people that are supposed to be protecting Russians inside Russia.
Mm-hmm.
And what can you say? Of course, it's very difficult to prevent, terrorist attacks, but, the sooner the war's over, the terrorist attacks will subside. And so, again, it's like, it's not an act of desperation. It's a slap in the face.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that they get away with it. This chick that they busted, that gave him the statue or whatever, she was a patsy. She was like
obviously.
Lee Harvey Oswald. Somebody else set that bomb off.
Mm-hmm.
And they were hoping that she would die too, being so close up on the stage too. Because if they kill her too, then I mean, I'm surprised it didn't go off right when she was handing it to him, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, I mean, she didn't have, I mean, she was just a complete chump, you know? She was a patsy. You know,
A
her
mule, a mule.
husband
I think
had
the term
talked
is
her
a mule.
into it. You know, he somehow already escaped from Russia. You know, no doubt he's in Ukraine now. You know, the people who instructed her so-called husband, you know, they're still safe in Ukraine.
Mm-hmm.
So no, it's not an act of desperation. It's an act of saying, you know, we can do this and you can't do anything about it. You can't stop it. And so far, you're not even getting revenge for it.
Yep. Yep. I don't know, man. Heavy subjects and really difficult times, especially with all these curveballs that are going on. Do you think Russia has an ace up their sleeve that they're not showing anyone, and that's going to be the neck breaker, so to say, for the coming offensive, or do you doubt that this is likely?
Well, you know, I'll say that I really hope they do because my life and the life of my friends and my family here depend on it.
Yeah.
But you know, if I was sitting in, you know, Dubai or Shanghai or somewhere and was going to bet money on it, I wouldn't bet on it.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. I see what you're saying.
But you know, I'll say this
Go on.
too: I'm not going anywhere. I'm staying here. My
Yeah.
wife Ludmilla is staying here too. I mean, you know, we're gonna, you know, this is our home. We're gonna defend it. You know, I'm not scared of dying. You know, I'd rather die fighting than, you know, die of cancer or, you know, die of, you know, COVID or, you know, from drinking too much or whatever. So, I mean, I got no death wish, but,
Hmm.
you know, if it's victory or death, I'm fighting till one or the other
Gotcha.
here in Donetsk.
Yep. Yep. You are a citizen and a resident, and you don't plan on moving. That was your stance even when I was there, and you were adamant about it, and that if the fighting comes to your street, you will defend your street and your block and your city.
Yeah.
Um, Russell, as always, thank you kindly for stopping by. It's been excellent. We covered some really heavy topics, and your haircut making you look 10 years younger has motivated me to think about getting a haircut too.
Well, you know, they say the beard too gives some age,
Yeah.
but it does make me look younger, dude.
Is there anything?
I might get a job as a TV star or a male model.
Yeah, I hear that's in. Everybody's got an OnlyFans these days. Anything you want to say to the audience before we sign off that we might not
Well,
have covered?
just that you know, check me out on Telegram.
True.
You know, I'll put
We'll
up the
leave a
link
link.
to the Telegram channel and the VK. I'm on VK too. Um, you know, the information's out there. The truth is out there. If people want to know it, they can find it. It takes a little work, but it's worth it.
Hmm.
You know, if you don't know what the truth is, you know, if you don't know what reality is, you can't do anything to change it. So, you know, that's
Well
the first
said.
step. You know, in the information age, ignorance is a choice. You know, it's the choice of fools and cowards, of which there's a lot of them out there.
Yeah.
Don't be one of those. Do your part. Russia is trying to save the future of humanity right now, right here today, but we need the help of all good people in the world to do it. And that don't mean what I mean, take a lesson from the people of Donbass, take a lesson from the great French people, what they're doing now. They're getting ready to overturn their government, which is a beautiful thing
Yeah.
and setting a great example. So, you know, for all of us, all good people in the world, all regular, normal people in the world, The choice is victory or death.
And
so on your feet.
And the time is now.
Knees.
And the time is now.
And the time is now. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Excellent. Texas, one of the best talks we've had so far, at least except for our personal talks in real life that we had in the Donbass. That's a different story, but that can never be said on the record. In any case, everyone, thank you for sticking around to the end. Don't forget to check out the Patreon, get some music going. Thank you. Have fun. See you soon.